Okay. I think we are good to go. Tweets out. Cool. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Roadrunners Unfiltered. We got the UTSA versus FAU game preview. Let me get the audio off here. There's a lot to discuss in this particular episode. I'm obviously going to talk a little bit about FAU and what they are going to be bringing to the table this weekend. I got a few keys to victory of what I think UTSA will need to accomplish to beat FAU this weekend and continue this hot streak that we're on right now. And then there's a couple of things that I've been seeing on Twitter over the last couple of days. One that just popped up here recently on Joshua Cephas and some of the news surrounding him. I have what I think is probably some interesting thoughts on that whole situation, and I'm going to address that as well. So lots to talk about. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you would be so kind to do that. I would really appreciate it, just so other folks can find the channel and it can help us grow going forward. So make sure you do that. Also, there's a Patreon link in the description. Make sure you guys subscribe to that as well, where I will be posting additional content. So I think that is going to be the show rundown. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, now, FAU, they're an interesting team. The way I'm going to describe them off the jump is they, to me, are a very hot and cold team. Now, when it comes to scoring, if you look at it that way, but it's also whenever you just kind of look at, if you go down the box score and look at some of the highlights that they put on film, they'll have a game where they look good, and then they'll have a game where they look bad, both offensively and defensively. But what I will say, as it relates to the game this weekend, they're coming in on a 2-game win streak and 2 conference wins. So I think that is putting them in the position to where they're going to come in riding high. They are going to be excited to get an opportunity to play us. And, and we got to go to their backyard. So that's never an easy thing too. So we're kind of both in the same situation where it got off to sort of rocky starts at the beginning of the season, but since conference play has kicked off, has kind of, right the ship and gotten things on the right path and have started to pick up some momentum. They had a huge victory last week against South Florida where they won 56-14. If you look at some of the highlights to that game, South Florida, and I think I've said this in previous podcasts, they're not very good. It seems like they're just inviting people to score touchdowns on them, and I think they opened the door for FAU, and FAU capitalized. And I think one of the things we'll have to worry about with FAU is they do have some people in skilled positions that can be dangerous. They have a guy that they love to target. His name is it is a tough one. I think what is it? LaJohntay Wester. So I'll just read you off some of his numbers. Last week against against South Florida, he went 10 catches for 123 yards. The week prior to that, they only put up 20 points this week against Tulsa, but he still caught 9 catches for 98 yards. You go back to when they played Illinois. He had 13 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown. So it's clear, who they like to get the ball to. Even against Clemson, he had 12 catches for a $108. So, and so on and so forth if you go through the other games. So he is someone that we're going to have to keep an eye on. We're going to have to watch out for because he has shown the ability to make plays for that team and shown the ability to be held to deal with after the catch as well. So, obviously, we're going to have to be careful with him, but they also like to run the ball too. Their quarterback, in my opinion, he is an average quarterback at best. He can throw well into zones. I have seen him do that. If you just look at some of the film and look at some of the plays where they've had success, he's throwing the ball against, he's finding holes in zones and he's putting the ball where they need to be. And he's also anticipating where his receivers are going to show up inside of those zones, right? So that's something that we're just going to have to be weary of because, we play a lot of man, don't get me wrong, but we obviously drop into zones like any defense does, right? So it's going to be something that they're going to try to exploit. They're going to try to exploit some of that in our defense. In terms of the style of offense, it's nothing that we haven't seen. It's the same type of offense that we've been seeing for years, and it's what's up and down our schedule. They're a spread team that likes to do they like to do some run pass option stuff. They like to spread the ball across the field. They like to get guys the ball in space on, wide receiver screens out the backfield. They like to do some trickery things too, but not so much. And they like to run power. They like to zone read some of the stuff on some of the short yardage down. So the offense is not complicated, and it's not going to be anything that we haven't seen before. But the question I have is, are we going to get a performance from our defense that we've gotten in the last game, right? Are they gonna come and show up? If they come and show up, it should be a good night for us. But if not, who knows what can happen. But in terms of what they're bringing on defense, here's what I'll say: they haven't given up a ton of points this year. If you go back and look at the games they've lost. Let's see. They lost against Ohio. It was their second game of the season. They gave up 17 points that game. In the game that they won against Monmouth, they gave up 20 points, and that was their season opener. I guess I'll go through all their games. Now, Clemson, but Clemson went and put up 48 points against them, which is, it's kind of an outlier in terms of just because Clemson is a higher tier program, and you would expect them to, do what they did to FAU. But if you go back to the teams that they're sort of in their atmosphere, they're not allowing a lot of points. Illinois, the game after Clemson, they gave up 23 points. Against Tulsa, they gave up 17 points. And against South Florida, they gave up 14 points. To me, what that tells me is they have a defense that has some momentum. They don't give away. They're stingy, period. It's interesting, though, if you go back and look at some of the total yards in some of these games, teams are moving the ball against them all right, but they're not scoring. That's the good thing. That's the good thing, I guess. They're not scoring very much. That's the thing that's sort of interesting. And that just kind of tells me they're bend but don't break defense. And they get off the field on third downs. That's just how you look at it. You got you go back to the Ohio game in the first game that they lost this season. Ohio was 6 of 15 on third down. That's something to take note of. If you go back to the Illinois game, and obviously this is a game they were lost. Illinois was 6 for 17 getting off the field. Let's see. I'm just curious to see how Clemson did. Even against Clemson, 6 for 12. Clemson was 6 for 12 on third down. Yeah, and if you go back and look at what they did to South Florida, 3 for 15 on third down. So, yeah, Tulsa, 8 for 17. So, yeah, there's a theme in what their defense is doing. They give up yardage, they bend, but they don't break. And they get off the field on third downs, and that's huge. That's huge for a team, and that can be difficult because and I don't know this for sure, but I'm just sort of hypothesizing here based on the information I have and based on seeing some of the highlights and stuff that I've watched to get prepared for this preview. If they're that good, if they have that good of third down defense, that tells me one thing for certain. They have a good bead on when to blitz and when to sit back in coverage. And that is always going to be a factor. that's sort of it sort of puts us in a weird position because I think for us on third down, we haven't been bad on third down, but we've seen it's been I don't want to bring it up because I don't really want to jinx it, but I think the truth is our offensive coordinator has had some questionable decisions on third downs earlier in the season. Obviously, as of late, those mistakes that I think that were made in play calling on some of those important downs, they've mitigated some of those, but we still seen some questionable stuff even in the last couple of games where our offense has performed very well, right? So I don't know, that third down battle is going to be key. I'm telling you guys now, watch that third down battle. If we have a successful, if we're successful on third down, we're going to ice this team probably. We're probably going to put up a lot of points. But, we just kind of got to be careful with what they're bringing. My man D says, we can't keep getting beat on trick plays, and defense has to really come in alive and ready to tackle, and offense really, really has to play fast. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. I think the trick plays to me was a little bit alarming because for those of you who were on the preview last week, coming into that game, it was something that I noticed from just watching some of the stuff that I watched. That team was going to do trick plays quite often because that's just how that's how they do things. And the eye discipline was so bad that we got lucky. And maybe I'm talking about 2 weeks ago, but either way, one of these last two games, there was a big trick play heavy teams, and we just seemed to just allow it anyway. That was kind of mind-boggling. But a team like this, we just got to have good eye discipline. They can hurt you if you allow them to, but like I said, they're a hot and cold offense, and they do not respond well when the offense gets punched in the mouth. When someone has their number, you can just go look at the stats. I won't go back and comb through all of them on this particular feed here, but you can just see, if they don't get going early, and they seem to not to be able to adjust to defenses that have their number. So that can be another thing. If our defense comes in and they come in and punch them in the mouth, we win the battle up front to alleviate some of the pressure on our guys in the secondary. I think that we'll have a huge opportunity to really take the bull by the horns here and put this team in a poor situation early in the game. The opportunity will be there. The thing is, are we going to be able to capitalize? The one thing that I'm always going to say throughout the season, and it's been the theme, and we've seen it for the first time last week. Will UTSA be able to put together a complete game where the offense and the defense shows up? That to me is always going to be the most important. If we can do that, we're going to be held to deal with throughout this whole season, and we will for sure have an opportunity to make a run at a conference title. 1,000% if we can show up. But I think right now we're starting to see some consistency from that offense coming off the bye week. Frank has looked phenomenal. The offense has looked phenomenal. Defensively, all right, we had a pretty good game. We forced a lot of takeaways or turnovers last week. They need to build on that now. This should be an offense. They have some weapons and they're talented players, but this should be an offense that if we play it right, we can have an opportunity to dominate this game on the defensive side of the ball. I really do think that. But FAU is a good team, though. They're not bad. They're not bad. And any team with momentum can be a problem, 1,000%. And they, frankly, have momentum right now. So just like we do, but we are coming to their home. So they have some things in their back pockets. So Mike, grimy kid, birds up all day, baby. You know what time it is. My man Mike says, is this a game where we may want to start on offense if we win the coin flip? Start early, put pressure on them if we can score first. Absolutely. Because the reason I agree with that so much because, as I said before, I don't think they respond well to getting punched in the mouth, just based on some of the things that I'm seeing in the numbers and just seeing in some of the games. And if you analyze some of the discourse around the games they lost, I don't think they play well when they get punched in the mouth first. And I think that'll be perfect. Go down, get the ball, go in, score. And could you imagine if our defense comes out and then 3-and-out them and then we get the ball back? It can get ugly real fast against a team like that. So, and teams, whenever you think about it, hot and cold teams are generally like that. They can't respond when they face real, true adversity. They don't respond well to it. So, I don't know if they have any world beater players. Obviously, this LeJontay Wester kid is really good for them on offense. I don't know if they have anybody that I'm just super scared of that I think that can change the game and change momentum single-handedly like we have with Frank. So, yes, I think it would be a great idea for us to, if we win the coin flip, take the ball first, go out, and punch them in the mouth first and see if they respond to it, because I have a sneaky suspicion that they won't respond well. Grimy Kid says, Frank won't let us down. I don't think he'll let us down either. I think Frank is back to form. I think he is back in a, advantageous situation based on what's around him. I think people around him are getting a lot more comfortable. I think, when you look at our running back situation, I think that situation is working out for the better, and I think it's alleviating some of the pressure on him as well. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think Frank will let us down either. D also says definitely have to watch the run game too. Yeah, that running back is not bad. He runs a little funny to me. Like, if you look at the way, I don't know, whenever he gets out in the open field, he has this, like, weird way of, I don't know if he's high stepping or whatever. It just looks kind of weird. But listen, if you go look at, what the running game has been like for them last week, you had Larry McCammon III. He had 18 carries on 75 yards. You had Kobe Lewis for them, who had 11 carries on 70 yards last week. He also contributed with a touchdown. And they had a few other rushing things. So, yeah, the running looked good for them. They ran the ball for 205 yards against South Florida. You go over to Tulsa, and they had Larry McCammon III had 26 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kobe Lewis contributed with 6 carries, 87 yards, which was another potent rushing game for them, where they went over to 238 yards. So, huge, good call out, D, on this one, man. They didn't run well against Illinois. Well, I don't know, not in totality, but Larry McCammon had 17 for 89 yards, 5.2 yards a carry. That's not bad. You'll take that all day, right? So, yeah, that's a great point that you bring up there. The running game, we're definitely gonna have to watch out for that. There's, teams. It's weird, man. Some of these offenses, I can't ever predict the way our defense is going to respond to some things. It's like when you think about it, what is our defense bad at, right? And I don't know. I think we've had some struggles in the secondary, but we've also had some good play in the secondary as well. I know earlier in the year I was really big on what our front seven was able to do in terms of stopping the run, dominating the line of scrimmage, getting pressure on the quarterback, and then we went 3 games and just didn't do any of it, right? So I'm just looking for consistency from our defense 100%. So one thing I did want to chat about in terms of keys to the game and what we have to kind of factor into this. So I'm going to talk about the Joshua Cephas situation. For those of you who have not seen on Twitter, there was some news that came out surrounding him and the situation. I think he had a DWI, the DWI situation he had late last year. And basically this man named Dylan Collier from KSAT in San Antonio says breaking star UTSA wide receiver Joshua Cephas is accused of repeatedly violating conditions of bond in his DWI case. The latest violation report latest violation report for skipped breathalyzer test was submitted to the court yesterday. It's his second violation report in 5 weeks. And I seen, so there's a couple angles to this that I want to kind of talk about. I've seen people go at this guy who reported this on Twitter pretty bad, and I also think, people went bad on the reporting that came out late last year on this case at all. And here's what I'll say: I think we got to be careful about that, because I'll be honest, I was a part of the crowd too, back last year, that kind of gave these news reporters shit for posting, or writing a story on this DWI case. Here's what I'll say: I do think we have to be careful about some of that, though, because news is the news, and they do have to do a job. I do think I am going to be biased for some of the players a bit, because I have a ton of I was a player myself and have a lot of friends and a lot of folks that I still know that still play college football around the country and things like that. So, and I just get it, man. Student athletes live a very unique life compared to students who are not student athletes, and that there's no excuse for any of that. But I don't know. There's reasons that my biases come into play. But here's what I will say about this: at the end of the day, I do think that some criticism is warranted, because regardless of if they should be breathalyzing you or whatever in home or whatever, I think that's what the report is saying or whatever, like he has to take a breathalyzer at home or whatever. Regardless of what the situation is, that's something that you have to abide by based on the circumstance that you got yourself into. So, he needs to make sure he take care of that, because he can jeopardize his future. He can jeopardize his chances at the next level. He can jeopardize the current season. That's one thing that it kind of screwed me up, because I did this whole thing about like my keys to the game or what's going to be important for UTSA. And I'm like, I don't know how this news impacts this weekend. I hope it doesn't. I hope that they're handling this in-house, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So I hope. I'm not gonna be. Like I said, I'm players first. I'm not gonna throw stones at anybody for making mistakes. It happens. Criticism is gonna come his way, and it's warranted if you aren't following rules. But I just hope that it doesn't impact the season, and I hope they're handling this in-house some way, shape, or form that doesn't impact football. But I don't know. It's an unfortunate situation, and I hope the kid gets the help he needs. But yeah, it does factor into like what, if he were not to play because this stuff came out, I'd be freaking devastated, number one. And number two, that changes a lot, man, because he has been the only constant in that receiving core this entire year. He's been the only constant in that receiving core. So if this has any impact on that, that's going to be a huge freaking blow, because we don't have a JT Clark. Devin McEwen is young, and he's just now getting into the fold a lot. Yeah, man, I really hope that they get this sorted. Mike Muniz, my man Mike, says FAU has 7 fumbles so far this year. We have some opportunities to make them turn the ball over. Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said last week, or like I said in the recap, one of the things that's important about takeaways is they get contagious, man. They get contagious. They make people confident. They make people take chances. They make people hunt a lot harder than they would just normally if the team wasn't creating takeaways. That's what it's about on defense. Like defense, everybody feeds off everybody. So yes, FAU is a little sloppy with the ball, and we definitely, most certainly, should take advantage of that. Man, D says he's on the depth chart. I think you're talking about Joshua Cephas. I hope so. Like I said, I hope this situation is being handled in-house. It's a very personal thing, and I know I just hope whatever that he's dealing with in terms of punishment, Listen, I'm all UTSA. I hope they handle it to where he doesn't have to miss any time. Whatever punishment, like run him every day after a practice or something. Just don't put him out for the game. I know that's messed up, but I don't give a shit. Mike says FAU's third and fourth down conversion percentage is not good. If the defense can keep from giving up big plays and force third and longs, our defense can eat. Absolutely. That's why I think that's also a reason why we see. Look, when you look at the games, when you go back and look at some of the games they've had, they've had relatively close games. Well, I guess half the season's been relatively close games. You got to throw out Florida Atlantic, got to throw out South Florida. The game against Monmouth, not that close. Not that close if I'm just keeping it a buck. But, they're not great on third down either. They are a team that thrives off big plays. They will definitely take shots down the field. So, to your point about us needing to get them in long third and longs and just winning on first and second down, man, that stuff is so important. It is so important to win on first and second down. Sometimes, I watch football with folks and, like, somebody will get 5 yards or 4 yards on a first down run, and people will be like, oh, yeah, that's good. They'll clap. And I'm like, bro, 4 to 5 yards on a run, that means, the defense is behind the sticks. Like, you want to hold them below. Like, on I can just tell you this from being on defense. The goal on first and 10 for a defense, 3 yards or less. 3 yards or less. You want to get them in the second and the 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what you want. Or, behind that, right? Or longer than that, right? That's what you want, right? So if we can, and all of that comes down to dominating the line of scrimmage, winning it up front. If they run the ball, we got to be smacking them in the mouth immediately so they're not rummaging for extra yardage and getting those 4 to 5 yard gains. We have to be right up in their face and ensure that our presence is established there. It'll also allow our secondary to hunt too whenever we are winning up front, right? So absolutely. We need to hold judgment on Josh until we can hear both sides. Absolutely. I'm definitely not I am not judging. Like I said, I am just because me being a former player, I am probably player first in pretty much everything. My thing is if he did violate those, I think criticism there is warranted. I just and here's my bias coming to play, hope that this does not impact his play. And I hope if he did violate these things, I truly hope that they provide him the help that he needs and he gets through this situation. Let's see. D says their quarterback was AAC Offensive Player of the Week. He's gonna come in confident. He's a pretty big guy too. Yeah, but you know what? It's South Florida. It's South Florida. And I'm not trying to shit on South Florida, but like South Florida has just been, I mean, dude, they haven't stopped any. They've given up 56 points 2 weeks in a row. Even games that they're winning, teams are like, the only team that they held down was Alabama. If you look at South Florida this year, listen to this. If you look at South Florida this year, I know we're playing FAU, but if you look at South Florida, game 1, Western Kentucky hung 41 on them. Game 2, that was in a loss. Game 2, Florida A&M scored 24 points on them. That's the game they won. Game 3, they play at Alabama. They hold Alabama to 17 points, right? And then they Rice scores 29 on them. Navy scores 30. UAB scores 56, and Florida Atlantic scores 56. That's crazy. So Bama is the team that they stopped. That's hilarious, I guess. So yeah, no. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to their quarterback, but like, let's see what happens when he plays you know what I was finna say? Let's see what happens when he plays a real defense. Shit, I don't know which one of our defense is gonna show up, bro. I'm hoping the defense that we seen in the second half last week, if that defense shows up, We're gonna put him in the pocket. We're gonna pocket him is what I mean. We're gonna pocket him, like bottling him up. Mike says we have a 3-headed monster back at running back this week. I hope we run the ball as much as we can and wear that defense down. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. I think running the ball, having dominant running backs and running backs that are physical, though, that just sets a tone and lets a team knows that, like, bro, we're coming for your head, period. We're coming for you. So, like, pause. But like, don't, I don't know, it just sets a certain tone for me that I think that sometimes we miss, but I think we've been doing a damn good job of it since the other backs are starting to get involved. So that's that I think is the strength of the offense right now, is our running game and our running backs and that 3-headed monster. It'll be nice for us to we used to have the 3-headed monster on the outside. All right, now we have that 3-headed monster in the backfield. How do we adjust the way we play to make sure those guys are being utilized to the best of their abilities and to make sure we're taking advantage of every advantage they give us? I think that is going to be important. So, yeah, that 3-headed monster is a problem. Another thing I seen that was on Twitter that was interesting, and I think this came from the Paisano, the little newspaper. That's like a UTSA newspaper, I believe. I got a story about the Paisano. I don't know if I'm spelling it wrong. Paisano. It'll be great if somebody helps me out with the pronunciation of that. But a story about them. So when I was, I studied, media and stuff in college. That's what I got my degree in. So I wanted to be like your ESPN sports anchor. Hence, I am doing this. I am trying to carry out my dream here. But anyway, I tried to like work with them or something like that, and they basically told me that, yeah, we cannot work with you because we can't. They said they were like really tripping on my football schedule. So I just like, from that point forward, I just couldn't stand and hated everything they did. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to bring that up. But anyway, they put out some sort of story or something today about Zachary Franklin and him basically going, leaving UTSA and going to Ole Miss and questioning, like, should he have left UTSA or not? And because, his time at Ole Miss has not been great. He's been injured. He's only played a couple games. He has like 2 catches, I want to say. Here's the thing, man. Like, that dude, my take on that is that dude is a legend at UTSA. He came in and broke every single record. He played a huge part in hanging 2 banners up at the Alamo Dome for UTSA. So I'll just say, like, the making fun of him for, leaving and trying to bet on himself and going to another opportunity and it just not working out. It's just, we're classier than that, right? We're classier than that. So I seen some of the comments on it. To be honest, a lot of folks, some of the people I seen that was commenting on some of it, and we're kind of just commenting and subtweeting it. I want to say they were very pissed at that article because they're kind of like, of the same mindset of like, leave him alone. He's already left the program. But yeah, I agree. Like, it's all good. Let him do his thing. We've moved on, and we're figuring it out with the group we got, right? So yeah, sometimes some of that stuff gets weird to me. Let's see. In terms of keys to the game, so I don't think I ever really just got into my keys of the game. So I think I kind of gave away my first key earlier, but I'm going to reiterate it here. The first key of the game to me is going to be third down efficiency and how we perform on third down. As I said earlier, if we are able to be successful on offense on third down, we will win the game. It is a clear pattern. And there's a clear theme through FAU season is their defense is a very good third down defense. If we are able to convert on third downs, we're going to be in trouble because that defense holds teams. Like I said, they let people put up yardage, they bend, but they rarely break. So we just have to be really, 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 really careful about those third downs, and our play calling has to be on point, 1,000%. It just has to be on point because if not, we could find ourselves in a position that we don't want to be in. This is a team that I can objectively say from a talent perspective we're better than. We just have more talent than they do. A lot of times that doesn't mean shit because if you look at 2 of the 3 losses that we have on our record, I am 100% on the side of we were better from a talent standpoint than these teams. I think we had more talent than Houston. We, in my opinion, clearly had more talent than Army, but talent is what not lost those games. We got out-schemed. We got beat. We didn't respond well to adversity, so on and so forth. So I don't want to stumble into another situation like this with a team like FAU. I don't think they're great, but they are a team that's coming in on a 2-game winning streak just like us, and we're going to their backyard. So the last thing we can do is give them momentum in the game. So to the earlier point that I believe Mike made earlier about, hey, guys, we need to, if we do win a coin toss, let's go ahead and take the ball, punch them in the mouth, and score a touchdown early to get, to put the pressure on them. I think that's important. So third down efficiency is going to be key, and those converting on those third downs are deflators for a defense. That defense has performed well. If they're not able to get off the field consistently on third down, that's going to play into the psyche a little bit, and you're going to start seeing them break over the course of a game. Those type of things work just like body shots do in boxing. You wear people down over the course of a game, and then boom, they eventually break in the later rounds, in which that could be, mid-third quarter to fourth quarter. So, yeah, that's a huge key. That's the most important thing is third down efficiency for this game, I think. Also, the second key to victory to me is going to be our defense not only just playing well, but I think a lot's going to rest on them having eye discipline and being, how can I put this? I don't know, just playing with togetherness. I think some of these performances, man, you'll see, the front 7 plays well, the secondary doesn't play well. The secondary plays well, and the front 7 doesn't play well. I think this team is going to challenge the defense in both areas. They've shown the ability to run the ball well. They've shown the ability to throw the ball well at times. So I think both areas of the unit, the secondary and the front 7, they're just going to have to work in unison and communicate very well because, FAU is going to test every part of the defense in every way. And then also whenever we do go into zone coverage, which is also going to be a huge thing for us, they're good at manipulating zone coverage. They're good at throwing the ball into zone coverage. They're also good at finding holes in the seams whenever they do try to stretch the field. And the quarterback will sometimes just throw it up and rely on his guy to make a big play. We just defensively, and I don't even know exactly what the key is. I'm a defensive-minded guy. I just know our defense just has to play well. They have to defend the run and the pass very well. And they just have to feed off each other. That's it. That's going to be a huge key. The last key for me, I'm going to do 3 keys. The last key is play calling. I think the play calling on offense is going to need to be sharp because this defense has shown itself to be formidable. And even if we start off and we don't start well, we need to be able to adjust and whether that be halftime or whether that be quarter to quarter, we need to be able to just find a solution of how we're going to penetrate the defense and make sure that we are in a position to continue to put up points because, like I said, their offense can be hot or cold. You just don't know what you're going to get with our defense. I think when you look at FAU's offense, they're a lot like UTSA's defense. They have this hot and cold effect, and we just kind of don't know what we're going to see, right, from either unit. So with that, I think it's going to be incredibly important for our offense to be as sharp as they have been these last 2 weeks. And I hate that there's so much pressure on them, but it's the nature of the beast, man. It's the nature of the beast. Until our defense starts to put together consistent games where they put out good performances, our offense is going to have to deliver. And guess what? We have Frank Harris, and I think that's the advantage that we have. He's going to be the best player on the field. I still think he's the best player in the conference. Even with us coming into this new conference, I still think he's the best player. And, yeah, I'm glad that we get to lean on him as someone with a lot of pressure on his shoulders because he's built for it. He's handled it for years, and I think we're in good hands there. We're lucky to have that. Let's see. D says, I know we just can't come in big-headed and underestimate them. Absolutely. And that's sort of what I'm sort of trying to allude to. It's like what we've done over the last couple of years can put us in a situation where we do think we're big-headed, 100%. And could you blame us? We've been whooping ass for the last couple of years. Could you blame us for being a little big-headed? I can't. I am all for confidence. I'm all for a team owning that confidence and playing with swag and playing with, that fire and that know-how. But yeah, sometimes you come in and you're not hungry because you think you're going to roll over a team. You think they're not going to fight. And the team's going to fight. You think these other teams are not going to you think these other teams are not going to listen to what people like me or so not me because I'm nobody, but people that's whoever their media members and whatever they're Googling, you think they're not reading some of the stuff that people are saying and not looking at the spread and seeing that we're favorites at their house and things like that. So, yeah. Can't get the big head, but I do love them coming in confidence and just knowing that they're going to come in and win the game. My man Mike says, I like our chances in a tight game. We have shown to win those time and time again. I do too. And I think what its tight games always come down to, who has the best quarterback? Who has a quarterback that can deliver, who can be calm and composed in those situations? That's what they come to all the time. But what better quarterback to have than Frank Harris in this conference? Right? So, if it's a tight game, which I hope it's not. If it's a tight game, I do favor us to win. But we'll just have to see. I don't think that the game will be that tight, to be honest. So, yes, that leads me to my score prediction. So for this one, I think the game will be – I don't think it'll be tight, but I don't think we're going to blow them out too bad. But I do think our offense is going to have some pretty good success. So I'm going to say UTSA wins this game 34-17. I think we win a 17-point game against FAU. I think they have some weapons on offense that could give us some trouble. But I do think that some of what we put on tape from our defense last week, if we can build off of that second half defensively, I think we can be hell for that FAU offense who has a tendency to be hot and cold, as I said before. So I think our offense will face some adversity because I think their defense is respectable. But at the end of the day, I think we'll just be too good. I think we have the better players. The skill positions, although that LeJontay Wester guy is really good for them, but I can't say that I'll take him over Joshua Cephas. I don't care what his number says, right? So, and then to D's point earlier, or no, to Mike's point earlier, the three-headed monsters we got at running back with Kavorian Barnes, Robert Henry, and Rocco Griffin. So, yeah, man, I'm going UTSA all day. I think we should beat this team if we come in with our heads on straight, good play calling, and we show up as a complete team. I think we beat this team with not a lot of resistance, with some resistance, but not a ton. Yeah, I will definitely, whenever I do, I'm going to come to some of the games later. My work schedule is insane, dude, so I have not been able to get out there. But I do have a couple of games circled on my calendar that I'll be coming to, and I will definitely come through the tailgate and kick it with you guys 100%. But with that being said, I am going to wrap up there. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to the channel. I really, really appreciate if you guys could do that and help the channel grow. And also, if you would be so kind to join the Patreon, man. I want to get some folks in there so we can start building something with that. So just have a look, check it out, and keep giving your feedback and keep joining these lives. So see you guys after the game this week. Peace.